process of the hive mind has the ability to bring certain entities here. So that's what that movie was basically all about. Even when you watch the first movie, The Man Who Fell to Earth, like I said, it was a form of convergence that brought that entity here. So like I said, he came on a honeycomb structured spacecraft. So like I said, it's one of those things where, you know, you got to understand that the CIA has an office in Hollywood and Hollywood has an office in the CIA. So there's a reason why they perpetuate certain things in the movies, because it's a part of, you know, reality that they keep away from humanity.
Yeah, you know, I just thought.
Matter of fact, yeah, somebody in the comments said something about Candyman. Candyman, it's a scary movie, but his ass was really an extraterrestrial. If you want to, you know, look at it from that standpoint. If you want to look at it from that standpoint, because he's operating on the energies of life and death. Like I said, it's a form of resurrection. That's what the bees represent.
Right. You know, I just thought about, we mentioned Beyonce earlier. I just thought about Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang came with the huge bee influence. The Wu-Tang Killer Bees on a Swarm. Like they came representing that bee energy heavy. You know. So shout out.
There's an esoteric connection to all that.
Yeah. Shout out to Wu-Tang. I just went to their concert like 3 weeks ago. So shout out to them and what they brought to the culture. Let's keep this thing going. So, in terms of the honeycomb, and I think the honeycomb, the physical structure of it, they say is the same physical structure of the melanin molecule.
Yes, that's a fact.
Could we talk about that a little bit? Melanin and the honeycomb, because I tell you, KT got the honey. So, like, is honey something that, you know, a superfood for melanin?
Yeah, because also you get into the neurological functions in itself. When you look at the Pithari gland, it talks about the extraction process of the melanocytes. Those are the intelligence molecules to activate the gold elixir within you. So, like I said, you know, gold in itself is an electrical conductor, and honey is a derivative of gold. It's liquid gold. So it's able to harmonize with the, you know, the carbonated energies to activate those the neuromelanin inside your brain capacity. So like I said, it's an intelligence molecule. So it's not there's a reason why the honeycomb structure is also an emulation of the enzyme sigil of melanin. Right.
What somebody said this. I didn't know this because I don't watch movies that often. Somebody said the bee was the most powerful titan in the last King Kong and Godzilla.
I don't remember seeing the bee in there. I don't remember that.
I don't remember hearing about that. Can anybody else verify that? Is that true? What Patricia's saying?
The only reason I can say that, because one thing about the King Kong movie, like I said, now I just got download. Salute to Patricia, because one thing you got to understand about, you know, Godzilla was a representation of the reptilian cortex. King Kong, which is an animal, which is a representation of the mammalian cortex, the limbic system. And when you put them both together by way of the corpus callosum, that activates the honey within you, the gold elixir. So this is, like I said, this is all connected to the bees, right? So this is when you get into the esoterics. You know, King Kong, he was stationed inside, you know, he was inside Hollow Earth. And it was called the place of the skull, or Skull Mountain, which is also equated to Golgotha, because Jesus, when you get into the esoterics, he was crucified on Mount Calvary. Then, you know, Bumblebee and Transformers as well, right? And he was the one that was on the hero's journey all throughout the movie. Because, like I said, the bee is a representation of the hive mind, and the hive mind operates on a secretion that activates the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is the pine cone to the brain. So that basically means that it secretes the energy of DMT, just like a bee is able to produce, you know, honey and things of that nature. So, like, all the movies and everything is esoterically connected to it. Most definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we putting the pieces together tonight, y'all. We putting these pieces together. Somebody said Phil Valentine said bees are the dewdrops of the sun. That's that's interesting. That is definitely interesting.
Yeah, you know, the Schumann resonance is going crazy right now.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I seen people posting all over Instagram about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay, okay. Yo, so with the bees, as far back as we, because I see the Egyptians, the name for the ruler of the upper and lower Egypt was called the Nesut Biti, and part of the
Yeah.
hieroglyph was a bee and like some plant. I forgot what they call it, sedge. I forgot the name of the plant. But in terms of, because I know you get into like the ancient cultures, the Anunnakis, and all of that, and they were so much into gold, and we call the honey from the bees the liquid gold. Is there any references to bees in the ancient texts dealing with the Anunnaki?
I wouldn't say. I would say no, because you have to get into Sumerian mythology in order to see the correlation. But I know that you said like the bee is representation. It represents the dualistic energies of the crook and flail in ancient Kemetic spirituality. Because the crook and the flail is a representation of the reset that creates a form of balance. So I forgot what was the word that you said. You said the bees and the sage and the sage.
Yeah, it's some plant. I don't know what it's called. Hold on, I could tell you. Give me one second.
But those two energies, the bee and that plant that you're talking about, represents the Kemetic instruments of Crook and the Flail, which is Aries and Libra. And Aries and Libra together creates the scales of Mayat, which is balance. Like I said, you have to be balanced, neurologically, and you have to be balanced emotionally in order to activate the gold elixir, which is the honey, the magnum opus of mental manifestations and creation.
Right. Yeah, it's the sedge. That's what it is, the sedge.
The sedge and the bee is a representation of balance. Same thing that takes place in Kemetic spirituality, the crook and the flail. The crook and the flail is Aries and Libra. That represents the scale of justice of Mayat.
I know a lot of people, I don't know how accurate it is, but I know a lot of people, I think, did me and you do the video, or it might have been me or RFG, but a lot of people refer to America as Kemet. They'd be like, yo, this is the original Kemet. So if the Nesut Biti represents, they wore the red and white crown, and it represents the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under one ruler, which is called the Nesut Biti. What would the unification of Upper and Lower America be? Like, what would that, I don't know if I'm describing it right, but
North and South Exum. Egypt of the farthest west, which is America. So that's why I was saying, way before you had the continental drift of Pangea, because you had many different floods before the flood of Noah. So that before that, the last reset, everything was working in conjunction. So when you get into the Olmec tribes, they came from Central Africa and they migrated to the Americas. How was they able to do that? That's because, you had Africa, which is, Egypt, and then you had Lower Egypt that's connected to America. So all those energies, by way of separatism, a lot of people got lost in translation with that information.
Right.
North and South Exum, like I said, Egypt of the farthest west, which is America.
Indeed. And once I got KT's stingless honey right here. I think it's called honey stingless bee or something like that. But it comes from stingless bee in Honduras, and this is all I got left. I had a whole bottle, but it's absolutely amazing. Shout out to KT. Should be there.
You notice he said 144 vibration to activate those macabres that draws in the energy of the bees. Like I said, they don't see people or plants. They see vibration. They see bioluminescent energy, and your energy is a form of sustenance. So it's basically like a metaphysical landing strip for the bees. This is why you had some of them landing on people.
Yo, I heard, I see this in the chat. Shout out to this sister here, Slimmy Bay. And I got your donation the other day too. I appreciate it on Cash App. She said honey is not bee vomit. They have two stomachs, one for digestion, one for honey. I know the vegan dude, I had him on the channel before. Shout out to Reese Latham. I heard him on Instagram. Somebody shared a clip. He's saying don't take the honey because it's bee vomit. That being said, I'm gonna drink some honey with that being said.
Right. Salute to the bee vomit.
Some good ass vomit.
Mm-hmm.
But you buying that? What's your thoughts of that? You think it's bee vomit or?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna go with science, and I believe the sisters. Man, they definitely have two stomachs.
Right, indeed. All right, let's get to a couple of questions. We about to hit the hour mark. I see we got 2,000 of y'all in here. Let's get to some Q&A from y'all. All right, y'all see what the vibes is. Y'all see what we talking about. Somebody said, should people use bees for developing systems?
Yeah, because like I said, bees. When you understand, the science of vibration, like I said, they don't fly. They actually flutter. They flutter in the form of levitation. So there's an octave vibration that's connected to that genetic format. So you can use the bees as a form of kinetic energy. There's a reason why in the churches of Lalibela, when King Lalibela was in a position of power during the time of 1162 AD, the churches, like I said, they had a buzzing sound. Right, yeah. It's a kinetic energy. So they used to, we used to bury, the ancestors inside, the churches of Lalibela. We used to bury the ancestors inside, these towns and ancient tombs and pyramids. The reason that is because it forms a kinetic energy, and kinetic energy in itself can create a form of levitation when you're talking about spacecrafts and shams. Right, the shams used to hover over monolithic structures in order to get the sustenance to create the vibration, because kinetic energy in itself harmonizes with crystals. If you know anything about, extraterrestrial technology, it vibrates on crystal technology, because the crystals absorb the information and they extract information, just like how satellites on westernized technology have the ability to send out light vibrations, and they send out light vibrations. They send it and they receive it at the same time.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier, but I seen a couple of people when I showed that video. A couple of people said it looks like a drone. Could you touch on that real quick, BDELL?
I don't think it was a drone, because my lady, salute to my girl, she's the one who videotaped that, and I was sitting right next to her when she was videotaping it way before I came up, to give my speech or whatever. But I was up, close with the bees, and definitely wasn't a drone. It was an actual bee.
Yeah, it looks so unbelievable that I could see why people. I said that at first too, but no, they had regular drones on us. They didn't need bees. They had regular drones out there. They had like 4 or 5 regular drones in the sky, like way up in the sky. So they didn't need to use sophisticated bee drone technology. They had the regular drones up there, y'all. All right,
I don't think it's that serious. I mean, our convergence is serious, but I don't think they're going to use. I don't think they'll be covert with that.
Right.
Everything's out in the open now. There's no more secrets.
Mm-hmm. Hey, shout out to Hey Dre. Hey said, "What do you think will happen if all the bees die off?"
It'll mess up the ecosystem. It'll mess up the whole, the corporate infrastructure when you're talking about, the importing and exporting of certain goods and foods and things of that nature and materials. It'll manipulate the whole, ecology of the planet.
Indeed.
It'll actually make the system crash, actually.
Wow.
The whole system would crash.
Spirituality changed your life.
Spirituality changed my life. I would say I wouldn't say changed my life, because I think I've been tapped into this energy, since the inception. Right. When I started to tap into who I was, it was one of those things. Like I said, there's a lot of destabilization processes when it comes to the westernized infrastructure of society. The reason why we have an unbalanced household is because they're able to monetize off of it. They don't like people to grow up in balanced households, because you create balanced individuals over the course of time, mentally balanced and emotionally balanced. So I would say, the inception of my spiritual journey came from, me being raised by my parents, because, I got the dualistic energies. I got my mom's feminine energy and I got my dad's feminine energy. So that created, a form of balance that led to a form of discipline over the course of time. So this is why, I stay working out, I stay reading, because like I said, if you work out more than you read, you feel out of shape. So you got to have, the dualistic energies in order for you to get to the next level. So I would say my spiritual journey, I would say it just made me a lot more, disciplined and a lot more meticulous about who's around my energy. So I use a lot of psychic self-defense because of that. So yeah, I would say it enhanced my spiritual journey.
Indeed. All right. New Diamond said it was a lot of dragonflies out there. What significance did they have, like the bees and the doves?
I didn't know the dragonflies was out there, but when you go, like I said, when you go from lead to gold, that's going to activate the wings. You go from a serpent and you turn into a dragon by way of a certain wisdom that you have. So that's why I was saying, like, there's certain vibrations out there. Bees can only see, a certain visible light spectrum. They can only see the energies of green, and they can see ultraviolet light. And the ultraviolet light is a representation of the Christ consciousness. In some mythologies, the wings of the crown chakra represents the dove, but in some mythologies, it's a representation of the dragon by going from serpent to dragon, activating the Kundalini energy, which is the serpent, and then activating the dragon wings to escape the matrix.
Yeah, shout out to you're good, brother. I'm sorry, good.
So there's, the doctrine of signatures of certain, things that take place in the animal kingdom is, correlated, to our genetic format.
Yeah, shout out to for the super chat, Margot, and thanks for coming out Saturday. Definitely a pleasure meeting you as well. But I appreciate you coming out. Shout out to everybody, by the way, in the chat who came out, and everybody who's been watching the videos and just supported energetically. Energy is non-local, so if you was in tune with what we in tune, what we was in tune with, we definitely felt the vibration. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody who sent the positive vibes our way. Somebody says, is it good or bad to put honey in your hot herbal tea?
No, it's good to put honey in your tea. It's gonna create it's gonna soothe your throat.
Yeah.
So it's good that it's gonna activate that the throat chakra, because there's a lot of properties in honey. Salute KT with his product and everything. So with that type of stuff aside, the teas and everything.
Yeah, I put the honey. After the show, I'm about to put some of this honey in and some tea. So I do it all the time, y'all. So yeah, I don't. Okay, and KT recommends it. So yeah. Somebody said, do bees self-create like pathogenesis?
No, I wouldn't say that. Parthenogenesis is usually activated by the reptilian cortex that is connected to the neurological interface. So what I was saying as far as parthenogenesis, when it comes to like the Komodo dragon, and there's another species that's able to reproduce without a male counterpart being present, because it's activated by prokaryotic cells. Because bees, they don't have, self-creation because they don't have prokaryotes inside their genetic format as well. They don't have it. In order to do that, you have to have prokaryotic cells.
All right. The extraterrestrial bees have a part in crafting humanity?
I wouldn't say that, but when you get into the numerical sequence, I was telling you, 13. The number 13 is actually the letter B, which is also equated to the bees, because the 1 represents union and 3 represents creativity. 1 and 3 equals 4 equals foundation to create a matriarchal civilization. So I would say that the blueprint on how to build civilizations came from the nature of bees or the nature of insects and things of that nature. Because they understood the building process. You got to pay attention to nature in order to create resources for your civilizations and in your community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. I just seen okay. Yeah, let me ask this one. Is the bee symbolic of Big Mama energy and the golden elixir symbolic of Mama's breast milk?
I guess you can say that, pretty much. Yeah, that's a very powerful analogy. And I would say, like I said, the gold elixir is basically the activation of the magnum opus by going from human to God. And you can only do that by raising up the Kundalini energy. The Kundalini is a representation of the gold elixir, which is the honey. So that, like I said, it's an extraction process.
Mm-hmm.
So Big Mama, like I said, the 13 represents the matriarch. So, and the gold elixir is equated to the honey. So there's a conjunction there.
Mm-hmm. Somebody said might be a drone from the queen bee.
You never know. Hey.
I like that one, Buzzy. Buzzy said, "Nah, that's Big Mama's drone. The queen bee's drone. Queen bee sent that motherfucker out there. Like, let me see. Tell me what's going on. Oh man. Okay. Who are the bees' closest cosmic relatives?
Melanated people. I would say the melanated people. The melanated people on planet Earth. Because like I said, going from lead to gold, it can only be activated by the quantum engine, which is, the heart chakra that works in tandem with the crown chakra. You got to have balanced energies in order to, get that, certain spiritual abilities and intelligence.
Right. Okay. Let's keep this thing going. This is I'm really enjoying this conversation tonight. Okay. Is the bee business something you can see growing in the Black community?
I can see that. See that. But it's one of those things where we have to tap right back into nature because, like I said, there's not a lot of female trees. There's 98% of the trees that you see in America or just on planet Earth are actually male trees because they put a lot of terminator seeds inside the soil to where they don't grow any type of produce. Because, like I said, the pollination is a protein, and that protein in itself is carried by a larvae extracted from the bees. So we have to, tap into the ecological systems of nature if we want to get into that energy of, growing a business around that.
Yeah. Somebody said, remember the bees in the movie Jupiter Ascending surrounded the queen because of her frequency. I don't remember that, and I seen that movie.
Yeah, I remember that because I told you, the Ethiopian king, his name was Lalibela. It means that the bees recognize his sovereignty. That's because from the inception of birth, he was surrounded around a lot of bees, which gave him the ability to have reign. That's what made him chosen to be a leader, of the future nation before he died and things of that nature.
Damn. Ain't that something, y'all? Imagine how we pick presidents and people pick their kings. Imagine living in a society where the bees pick who's king or queen, depending on who they're standing next to or swarming around. That'll be a fire process to decide who's going to rule over the land.
And you need to tap right back into that because if nature chooses your ass, that means that you fit for the job.
Yeah.
Because the ecology of animals and ants and plants and things of that nature, they're connected to the Most High, just like children.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I said, everything in nature, everything from the inception of birth, when you're talking about babies, they have a quantum entanglement processing system. They can see the vibration of humans on the planet.
All right. Yeah, this is good, y'all. Let's keep this thing going. But I got to see that movie again anyway, y'all. Thanks for bringing it up. All right, BDELL, do you think, what does it say? Do you think some animals that are going extinct would reemerge as the consciousness rises, could they mutate off of the DNA and come again?
I would say it depends. It depends on, like I said, a lot of the species that they have, hidden, or some of the ones that actually died off, that actually frozen inside Antarctica, because Antarctica is basically a frozen library. So over the course of time, our consciousness in itself has the ability to manipulate physical matter. So the consciousness itself is going to create liquidation in sedimentary rock formations, and it's going to unravel the DNA within the planet Earth and unravel our DNA at the same time. So a lot of these animals that you're going to be seeing is going to be because of the awakening process. It's going to heat up the planet. that's why I said, it was, it was very metaphysical for us to be in Atlanta because, like I said, it's on the third parallel. And anytime that you have a certain energy close to a dark ley line, it creates portals. And that portals is streaming down energy from the magnetic field. So this is kind of like when you look at the symbolism of the Aquarian symbol. It's a picture of water that's streaming down. It's pouring down intelligence. And intelligence in itself is going to manipulate, the Metatronic overlay.
Indeed. Yeah, somebody said a dragonfly landed on a guy and was chilling on him for like 10 minutes. I have video of it. Can you send me that? I don't know if you exaggerating or I know a lot of people talk and say they got videos of bees. Can you send it to me? If you got videos, can you send me the videos? Anybody who has footage of activities with bees, dragonflies, landing on them, swarming on them, can you? I just posted my email. Can you please email it to me? I would love to see it. All right. Like I said, I don't know, I want to see just exactly what y'all talking about.
Yeah, you don't want to over sensationalize.
Yeah. I know people like 10 minutes. That's a long time.
Right.
That's a long time. So I want to see the video of that. I want to see this video. All right.
I doubt it because the energy was really high.
Yeah.
I've never experienced something like that. And like I said, the day before you had a meteorite that hit Blacksville on Dr. York's birthday. All that stuff is not a coincidence.
This is what I'm telling y'all. It's important for us, and that's why I made it. If y'all notice, when I first came to Georgia, I didn't do any events the first year. I didn't do any events. King Simon did some events. Red and Blue might have done some. I didn't do any events. I was just, getting acclimated to Georgia. But I realized the importance of us meeting up in person and creating that energy field, that collective energy field. And what we did on Stone Mountain, you can't duplicate that on the internet, family, on YouTube. So this is why it's important. And this is also why I decided to do a free event. Like I said, it's not easy. If I ask BDELL to come to Atlanta and I'm paying him to speak, I book him, I pay for his flight, I pay for all of that, and in return I sell tickets, boom, boom, boom. But for Stone Mountain hike, these speakers are paying their own way because there's no money made. There's no money made at the door. There is no door. It's free admission. So to get the speakers to come out here for free, knowing how busy everybody is, everybody got families and businesses and this and that. This was the opportunity of a lifetime to see all these speakers free of charge in nature. Like, this was the opportunity of a lifetime, y'all. And we did it. And it was one of the top 5 experiences of my whole entire life. And the energy is something that I'm gonna remember when I'm 70. This is what life is about. Experiences. When I'm 70 years old, I'm gonna think it's a damn 2025. I organized a Stone Mountain retreat, and everybody came out. We was out there 5 in the morning. Like, this is what life is about, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all take these meetups that we promote serious. Whether you have to pay for them or not, it's an investment in your future. And shout out to everybody who there was a lot of travel difficulties because of the meteor. So shout out to everybody who stayed in the airport for 24 hours. Cambada was at the airport for 36 hours. Mm-hmm. So shout out to everybody who was willing to go through whatever they had to go through just to make it there, because it was definitely well worth it. All right.
And we got to keep it going. By the time I'm 40, I want it to, be at least 1 million people there, at least through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to keep this whole thing going, because the momentum in itself, we got to create, this convergence of the golden age, because we're going to be the blueprint for it. Because like I said, a lot of people are seeking answers because you've seen the collapse of the system. You've seen the collapse of the movie industry, the music industry. All these industries is collapsing, and a lot of people don't know where to go when it comes to information. So that's why I said we got to come amongst each other. We got to keep this whole thing going to where it can be, next time we do it, it's about 5,000 people, 10,000. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Somebody said, Rich, we going to Mount Shasta before Kemet. I'm not sure. I might.
That'd be crazy.
I'm gonna tell you what's dope about Kemet. So I just made an agreement. Well, not an official agreement, but we gonna make it happen. There was a sister that was there named America Sutton, and she does music. She's a songwriter in the industry. She has a band called Love Is Medicine, and she's awesome. And her and her band, I'm gonna arrange for her and her band to come to Kemet, because I told you Kemet is gonna be heavily. Whatever happened on Stone Mountain, Kemet is gonna be 100 times better. I promise you. I personally promise everybody, and I should have the link. I don't even have the link. I forgot where I put it at. But I gotta start promoting it, because if we don't hurry up and sell tickets, then the people who are booking it for us are gonna cancel it. So
I got an idea about the Mount Shasta thing, because Mount Shasta is actually the root chakra of planet Earth. It sits on the demarcation line of Oregon and Northern California. And if you're going to have a retreat there, everybody, I say maybe about 3 months before you go, you should do no type of, spilling your sexual fluids. Like I said, how you know that the vibration of you not over spilling your cup of Hermes is not going to activate something in that landmass. Just imagine if everybody, practice abstinence of sex, and then go to that retreat. Ain't no telling what you're going to activate in that geographical landmass. You might cause the pole shift right there.
Hey, you said the cup of Hermes. Oh shit, that's fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, family. It's I'm gonna think about it, and we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Yeah, Blue Pill is my Mount Shasta Connect. He's been going there since I think 2017, at least from what I know, from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So is my daughter all right? Why is she crying like that? All right, let's get to another question. We're gonna do about 3 more.
Okay.
Then we're gonna get out of here. I don't want to keep BDEL too long. Somebody said came from Kemet to Stone Mountain, and I gotta say Stone Mountain was aligned with Kemet energy.
Yes.
That's dope,
That's a fact.
That's dope. Yeah, that is definitely dope to know. Hold on, I gotta. All right, let me see. Yeah, let's get to another question. See a lot of comments. Somebody said, BDEL, are you going to 2027 Egypt with Brother Rich?
Yes, sir. I will be there.
Yes, BDEL will be there. I don't know. BDEL one of the first individuals I had to talk to about it. It's gonna be, listen, like I said, and I'm not trying to compare this tour to any other tour that takes place at Kemet, but I will say that this one is a special one. Number one, the energy that's going there. The energy that's going there is a different. This metaphysical channel. This is like a new thing for people to see a black metaphysical channel. Like usually when you go to the metaphysical channels, it's like white channels, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad that community is up on it, but you don't see a lot of black metaphysical channels with all the speakers could congregate and come to the same place. So this is a unique energy, and we represent that, like that I don't want to say hood, but we come from all aspects of life. We from all over, and it's just special, and it's going to be one of the most best experiences of your life. I guarantee it. Billy has access to parts of Kemet that nobody else has. He has a lot of connections out there that nobody else has that does tours. So we're going to see stuff that no other tours are able to offer. So like I said, family, there's payment plans, and I'll be sharing the link. I'll probably start sharing the link tomorrow. I think Blue Pill is going to be on tomorrow night, so I'll probably start sharing the link tomorrow. But like I said, this is limited because it's such a big trip, and I advise everybody to get their tickets as soon as possible. I just keep this thing.
It said something about me going on a plane. Yeah, it's a one in a lifetime, type of event. So, like I said, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. So I got to get through the fear if I want to get to that level as far as like going on that trip. Everybody don't get to go to Kemet and study the hieroglyphics and stuff.
Indeed. Indeed. You know, they said that when they was putting up the hieroglyphs, they put it up not to rebuild civilization, but they put it up because they knew one day the gods will return. And the name of the trip is the name of it is the Return of the Gods, and I'm gonna have the merch for everybody. Everybody who signs up is going to get merch, and our merch is Return of the Gods, and I truly believe that in my heart. I know I've been there before. I know I've been there. I know I've been there. I know I've been on this land. I know I've been on both parts of the globe. But I look forward to returning back over there, and I know you know, the hieroglyphs are going to be activated, especially with that music from America Sutton and everybody else, and Cam Botta's gonna be out there with the what's that song, King of the Jungle, man, with the music. We got the technology to activate that stuff out there. We got the technology, yo. We got it. And no, you don't have to get vaccinated to go to Kemet. A lot of people ask me that. No, you don't.
And then on top of that, you know, the music in itself is what creates portals.
Exactly.
Because music is actually electromagnetism. It's frozen geometry.
Yeah.
So you can manipulate the space-time continuum just with the vibration and the octave of certain instruments. There's a reason why you see the word mental inside the word instrument for a reason. Instrumental. So, you know, you can open up portals with, you know, certain frequencies when it comes to music. So salute to y'all, you know, bringing that energy, you know, to Kemet.
Indeed. Yeah, it's gonna be a movie, y'all. It's definitely gonna be a movie. Let's get somebody said, where's Kemet? Yes, in Egypt. Yeah, Kemet is in Egypt. Do you need a passport? Yes, you need a passport. So if you plan to go, you definitely need to get a passport, family. You definitely need a passport to travel outside the country. All right. All right, so let's let this be the last question. So did our presence on the mountain create or activate a portal while we were up there?
Yep. Like I said, anytime that you have a cultivation process of a magnetic energy close to a ley line is going to open up portals every time. Atlanta is on the 33rd parallel, just like you have Mount Hermon on the 33rd parallel. Now, one thing you got to understand, there's an esoteric connection with that because, you know, on the 33rd parallel, when you're talking about, you know, the intersection between Israel and Assyria, that's where Mount Hermon is basically at. And they have a bloodstone. It's a quantum entanglement transgressive bloodstone. And they use that to power the artificial intelligence technology supercomputers. So like I said, we bought the spiritual technology to on the mountain, on Stone Mountain. We bought that technology there. So like I said, we open up portals and we're going to leave an energetic imprint on that crystal because crystals absorb information. And we're going to absorb the information that's connected to the magnetites and the crystals in our brain. So moments like that, you know, over the course of time is going to leave an energetic imprint on your DNA. So like I said, this is how you activate the library within you, which is also known as the Scroll of All. The Scroll of All is the 7 tablets of destiny, which is the spiritual circular systems.
Indeed. Yo, B don't know how to break that thing down, don't he, y'all? You know how to break that thing.
Word.
Somebody said, Rich, please provide link for payment. All right, tomorrow we'll have everything ready. I will have everything ready for y'all tomorrow. I gotta act like I'm hungry out here, right? I don't be having my things together. But yeah, I will have the link for you tomorrow. Somebody said something I want to post. Somebody said, yeah, Kemet came to Stone Mountain, and in 2027, Stone Mountain will be coming to Kemet. Yes, indeed. Yep. Hey, yo, everybody who came to Stone Mountain, I would love for y'all in particular to come to Kemet because of the energy that happened and for all of us to carry that collectively. So I would love for all of y'all. I swear, man, I would love for all of y'all that made it to Stone Mountain. That's like the tribe right there. I want that tribe especially to make it to Kemet in 2027. It's 2 years. It's enough time to save and do what you got to do. Like I said, there's no tour offering what we are offering. And I'm partnering with Billy. You know, he does it all the time, but he does it with Billy has a large, as we all know, he has a large white audience. You know, his demeanor and what he talks about, you know, it attracts, you know, more of a white audience. And I got more of a hood approach, you know, and I'm not. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got more of what you would call a street or hood approach, and I track, people, the grassroots.
Yep.
So yeah, man. It's just it's going to be amazing. We got to balance the energy, and this is going to be the first trip with this many black folks going with Billy. So that's going to be dope. That's
Yeah,
going
it's
to
gonna be dope, man. We're in Atlantis.
Woo!
Yeah.
Whose book is that?
It's by Dr. Daniel and Barbara Coldren.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
He even talks about the pole shift not only subjected to the planet, it talks about the pole shift that is activated by the Merkaba, which is inside the body.
Mm.
Human consciousness has the ability to create the pole shift. So it'll flip right before it happens. You're gonna feel an energetic shift.
Oh, that's fire.
So it goes into all types of stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta get that one. That looked like a real good one.
Yeah.
I guess with that being said, man, what a good conversation tonight. Not only with BDELL, but with the family. Y'all had some great questions at the end. Once again, thank everybody who came out.
Appreciate
Thank you to everybody who came out. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was we made history together. That's what is important. We made history together, family, and let's continue to make history together. It was peaceful. It was full of love. Children, the ladies, the brothers, full of love. BDELL, leave all your contact information, anything you got coming up. Let the people know how to get in touch with you, my brother.
You can contact me at Instagram, BDELL1014, BDELL1014, and I'm on YouTube at BDELL1014, and I'm on Facebook. You can contact me at Brydell Rice Bay. Those are all my, and my TikTok is BDELL1014. I don't care for TikTok too much, so but those are all my, social media outlets.
Indeed. Somebody said, "Is Rod Hayes coming?" I doubt it. Rod Hayes, he has this thing about traveling. He talks about it, and he's not into traveling, especially with big groups. So Rod Hayes he's pretty much a local where he's at. Is maybe he'll change his mind in a little while.
We're gonna get him out one day.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact: Rod Hayes was supposed to be at Stone Mountain, and he was. And I guess I can say it now because it's over with. But fun fact, he was scheduled to be there at Stone Mountain, but tragedy happened in his personal with his family, and something happened. I'm not gonna say exactly what, but he had a something that happened with his family, so he had to tend to that. But fun fact, Rod Hayes it would have brought the man Stone Mountain would have exploded.
It would have been crazy.
That was gonna be the big surprise for y'all, but he had it was gonna be crazy.
The whole damn crystal probably would have exploded.
Yeah, but we gonna get Rod to come out. I won't say when. It'll be a surprise, But if your heart is in the right place, you'll meet him when you're meant to meet him. You know what I'm saying? My shout out to the brother Rod Hayes. But hey, with that being said, BDELL, my brother. Thank you once again. Always a pleasure. Like I told the brother this on the mountain. And during the weekend, I was like, yo, he's one of the sharpest young brothers out there holding down this information. And I want to stress to you in front of the family that this thing is a marathon, BDELL. It's not a sprint. It's not a 1, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year thing. It's a marathon. I want to see you in this thing 30 years from now. You know what I'm saying? I want to see you still doing your thing, and even if you're doing other things, but still teaching the people in some form, because you're definitely a gem in our community. So keep up the good work, my brother. Always a pleasure working with you on these YouTube interviews. And with that being said, family, I will see y'all tomorrow. I think Blue Pill will be on. All right, peace and blessings. Peace. What you said, B?
I was saying salute to the guy, Blue Pill. Yeah,
yo,
Blue on my head when I was out there.
Blue Pill say your name is B, like bees, like the bees. Your name is BDELL now. That was word. You represent the B, and you got her the yellow today too, man.
Salute to Bobby Hemmett.
Shout out to the brother Bobby,
yeah.
Shout out to Red Pill with that merch. That's the brother Red Pill's merch. Shout out to Red Pill.
Salute to Red. And really, that was my first workshop. He threw me to the wolves with that.
Oh man!
And I was not prepared because I didn't have
the work that you do.
Well, I consider myself as an end times eschatologist and a spiritual revolutionary. That way, I'm able to combine the spirituality mixed in with the eschatological timelines that's taking place when you're talking about modern day events and how it lines up to prophecy.
I sure. No, that's what's up. Okay, and then so like, how did you get first exposed to the work? Because clearly you have done a lot of research and you've also presented a lot of information. So like, what was your first exposure to, like consciousness or studying, esoteric wisdom and knowledge?
Well, the inception of it. Well, my mom, she was a part of the Nubian Nation with the Ansar Allah community. So I was already tapped in with the great majority of Dr. York's publications. And then over the course of time, I became a part of, the More Science Temple where I got my edification from. And, unfortunately, my grand sheik, he passed away. So I'm not a part of any temple right now. And the only temple that I was a part of was the only one that we had in Southern Indiana. So as far as that, like the inception of it started with Dr. Malachi York's work, and then it transitioned into more science. But when you look at the whole multitude of the spiritual work in itself and the dynamics of it, they pretty much work in conjunction. It's pretty much one and the same because Dr. York, he was propagating, sovereignty, just like, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was.
Okay. No, that's what's up. I love it. And I saw it like from the very beginning. I think the first one, I can't even remember which one of the ones that kind of came across my timeline, but whichever one it was, I tapped into him like, yo, bro, is dope. Like he definitely knows his stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he really tapped in. And so I knew immediately you had to have a background that's pretty much similar to like what you what you pretty much broke down for us. So with that, let's just dive in, man, because we had some really, I feel like enlightening, conversations off here where I got to kind of really, see who you are and what you're about and what you stand for. And I feel like there's a lot of dope alignment with that. But when it comes to where we are right now on May 25th, 2025, where does the atmosphere in which we're in right now, from the physical aspects as well as the universal, I should say, the astrological aspects, how does that tie in to some of the chain of events that we're seeing unfold right before our very eyes, especially when we talk about things in regards to like the solar flares that we just had, that just came the other day? Like, how does all this tie into where we are right now?
Well, the solar flares that you see, these coronal mass ejections is operating at gamma radiation, which manipulates the electrical grid node of the planet. So this is why you see the rise of a technocrat system, but it's only going to have a temporal power over it because we all know that, anything that's built on imperialism or anything that's built on colonization doesn't have no type of sustainability as far as their civilization. So when you've seen these coronal mass ejections coming in, that is what they call the ancestors coming back, right? And it's revitalizing and waking up, the dynamics and the minerals and the plasmoids and everything. Is basically waking up planet Earth. So we're going through a shifting process, which is based on a reset. So this is all connected to the precessional circle of the equinox, which is what they call the cosmic clock, because the cosmic clock coincides with the financial debt clock system that's a part of their corporations. So this is also in connection with the doomsday clock as well. So everything that they do operates in cycles by way of those clock systems. So this is why you're having a reset in the political infrastructure. This is why you're having a reset in the entertainment industry, the music industry, movie industry. All the industries are starting to unfold right now. So this is, it's all based on judgment as well. So it's a form of prophecy that's taking place.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I see it too. And it's something that we've spoke about, a lot of times on this channel in regards to the cycles, with the 20, some would say 25, some would say 24, some would say 26,000 year, the 6,000 year cycles that we're kind of into, right? Yeah. So we just came out of, what was it? The Piscean age, right? And we're going into the Aquarian age, right? So how does that tie into when we talk about these 6,000 year cycles and how significant they are in regards to what's taking place on the planet? How does that tie into some of what you just shared with us about the solar flares, as well as the fall of all these systems, whether it's the religion, the dollar, the military, et cetera? Like, how does all that tie into what we're seeing with the numerical 6,000 year cycle?
So when you look at the numerical 6,000 year cycle, it's the personification of the 24,000 year purification period. So it operates on 4 different cycles. You got a sun cycle, a moon cycle, and a sun cycle. So now we're at the apex of solar cycle 25 because we're in solar cycle. We're in the last sun cycle. So that means it has to be facilitated by a matriarch, which is galvanized by the people, which is a republic. So that means that the divine feminine energy is bringing balance right back to the planet. Because when you're talking about the end of the world, you're really talking about the end of an age. And the end of an age was the clay age of the 6,000 years that the so-called Shaitan, the devil, had over the planet. So now we're transitioning into the golden age, which is the Aquarian age that is facilitated by the sun cycle. So now you got these corona mass ejections hitting the planet, and they doing all type of, genetic manipulation, and they're basically trying to, build all these underground bunker systems because their genetical format doesn't have the G-force to withstand the UV radiation light spectrum that's coming from the cosmos. So this is why they want to amplify a technocrat system with Neuralink, right? Because they don't have the neuromelanin to activate that Christ consciousness that takes them, outside of, the firmament and all these dimensional planes of what we call the demiurge, or what we call in the esoterics, the Metatronic overlay, which is the dualistic paradox.
Yeah, that's deep. That's real. I love that because you tapped into something that I was going to go into anyways. But when you talk about this Neuralink, right, and we talk about melanin, we was just talking about that on one of the last live streams I had. I think last Saturday I was talking about with like melanin and the difference between melanin, neuromelanin, and then also going all the way back to Kemet when you saw that Asar was green, like his skin was green. Yes. You know what I mean? Naturally, when you go to the purest form of melanin, it actually is green, and that's why you see it on the temple walls in Kemet. So can you kind of break down how the neuromelanin is one aspect, regular melanin is another, but then why those people who are creating Neuralink and all these other virtual reality existences or whatever you want to call it, can you kind of tie into how that matters to what's happening right now on the planet, especially when you talk about the solar flares and how it's manipulating the environment?
Yes. Well, these solar flares, they create melanocytes, which are basically intelligence molecules. So it works in tandem with the brain essential nervous system melanin. And that melanin has the ability to activate the Christ body in the crystalline state to where you go from, a form of transduction to activate the neuroendocrine transducer. So this is what we call the piezoelectrical crystals in the brain that activates the Merkaba light ship, which is the biological suit to escape the firmament. But you got to have a certain genetical format, and you have to have a certain neurological format. Now, when you're talking about the Canaanite, the cursed seed in the book of Leviticus, when they breaking down their genetic format, when you're talking about the cursed ones with leprosy, the ones that was cursed with leprosy, that leprosy is basically a vampiric disease, right? Because like I said, the UV radiation light spectrum doesn't harmonize with their genetics, the epidermis layer of their skin. So the epidermis layer of the skin, see, when it comes to sunburns or sun cancer or whatever, all these other things, and the surface level is not getting cooked. It's the underlayer of the surface because they have eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells is spliced DNA. So that means that it's basically a form of a genetic mutation, which ties our way back when the European or the Canaanite that was created in 4086 BC on the island of Patmos, right? And they came out of those cave systems because, like I said, Europe it's a desolate land. There's no type of sun that comes to that geographical area, right? Mm-hmm. So this is why the dogs, they used to lick the leprosy sores of the European. So this is where you get the term, a man is a dog's best friend, right? Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things like the Canaanite was basically the foot soldier for the Canaan was the foot soldier for the Canaanite. Mm. They also have the same genetic format as well when you're talking about spliced DNA. Mm. So now we're going back into the sun cycle. So solar cycle 25 is, it activates, certain, things on the planet, such as like, planetary shifts, volcano eruptions, earthquakes. But, that also coincides with our genetic format as well. Since we're connected to the planet, we're getting those same planetary upgrades, except the Canaanite that was cursed with leprosy.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we on our way in, family. We on our way in. So now when it comes to what we're seeing with the kind of changing of the guard. Somebody in the chat said it, this power is shifting, the shift of power. I'm not sure who it was, but yeah, that's real. It's really happening. When it comes to all of this, can you kind of share, because I've been mentioning about the Black Pope for a long time on the channel before all this stuff took place. And so I was telling you, when we spoke the other day, how excited I was to see the work that you did on the presentation you did about the Black nobility, because I was like, shoot, that work already been done. I could just send people the link to that when I ain't even got to do that video because my bro already did it. But can you kind of break down how deep this goes when we talk about this thing called religion, and then we talk about those who control and manipulate this whole entire infrastructure? We're talking about the Vatican, and then we're talking about people behind the scenes who are the ones pulling the strings like a puppet. Can you kind of tie in or tap in for the tribe who might not be familiar with your work or might not know anything about the Black nobility? Can you kind of tie into how all that, kind of plays a role into what we're seeing as this whole thing shifts and unfolds?
Okay. Well, the Black nobility is the black hand, and the black hand is the hidden hand, and the hidden hand is the one who controls the European on the surface. So you have two different diametrical differences of bloodlines on the planet, which ties all the way back into ancient Sumeria when you're talking about Enki and Enlil. Enki is the ones that's connected to Earth, because when you break down the etymology of the word Enki, it means Lord of Earth. So that means that the Earthborn, who are the indigenous people of America, are connected to that bloodline. Then you got the seeds of Enlil. En means Lord, Lil means sky, Lord of the sky, which is acclimated to Satan being the prince of air. So Enlil has a faction of bloodline that he created to overthrow the seeds of Enki, when you're talking about the cursed ones for 6,000 years. So now we're seeing a transition of power. So we went from a patriarchal form of colonization that created patrilineal systems within their corporations. And now you're going back into a matriarchal energy, which is matrilineal for the indigenous people, to where the man rules through the woman, to where they have balance. So now when you're talking about as far as the transitional process, I lost my train of thought. What was the other part of the question?
It was pretty much just breaking down how there's a secret, I guess, handler.
Okay, I got it now. Yeah, the Black nobility. You also have Colochians. Colochians are some of the first Europeans, or the first Canaanites that was in the Caucasus Mountains. So when you go all the way back to that bloodline, those are the ones that's connected to the Ashkenazi Jew over in the Ukraine that works with the libertarian aspect when we're talking about the Democrats, right? So this ties all the way back into the socio-political aspect of civics, because the church and the state is not separate. So this is why they created religious papacy with Pope Alexander VI and Pope Nicholas. And then that's when they also implemented the Inquisition with Queen Isabella in 1468. So the religious papacy, this is why I said you got to step away from the religion, because the religion is what they use to put jurisdiction over you, right? So the religion, like I said, you get to the etymon of the word, the linguistics or whatever. The word Christian translates to the word black in the strong concordance. So that's why I was telling, the brother last night, words are spells. So it's really deep that we got to dissect these words to see the underlying message of what's taking place. But going back to what I was saying, the Black nobility created religious papacy for the Europeans to overthrow the ones that's connected to America. That's what that was basically used for. So that's why when you look at some of these neoclassical arts, you can see the European being a form of a black man coming over to make deals with the indigenous people over in America. So that means, like I said, you got two different bloodlines. So the black conquistadors, a great majority of them are part of the faction of Enlil, right? So so that's the thing, though. Everybody, just because we all look the same doesn't mean that we come from the same bloodline. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't have, different blood types, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's real, too, because, when you speak on that, it's like I could tell somebody that was born here, in this country of America or this corporation of America versus somebody who might have been born in Africa, or somebody who was born in the islands, or somebody who was born, what I mean? Just by look, I could tell by the facial structure, what I mean? It's just so many different features that I could tell, that they're from a different place, or at least their place of origin, what I mean? Although we all are melanated. And so it's something that it goes deep when you talk about how deep it is when you go all the way back, through the bloodlines. When you talk about Enki and Enlil, when you're talking about these beings, or you want to talk, even if you bring into the picture Anu, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does all this tie into, the ancients when we talk about this thing called the Anunnaki?
Well, when you're talking about the Anunnaki, when you break down the etymology, it means those sent by Anu to Ki. Ki means Kai. Kai means planet Earth. So that means that we're basically baby Masons because we.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Can you say that again? Because I'm sure some people might have wanted to hear that but couldn't make it out. Only because the way you broke it down, though.
Yeah, Anunnaki. When you look at the word, it means those sent by Anu to Ki. Ki means Kai, and Kai means planet Earth. So when you look at a Freemasonic symbol, it has the letter G in there. But the G is the prefix of the word Geo. Geo means QI in the esoterics, which equates to Ki, which is planet Kai. So that's why I said that Enki, E-N-K-I, is basically the ones that come from the Lord of Earth. So that means it's our birthright to have dominion over the planet. That's why in the Moorish Science Temple, when you wear the fez, the tassel is what connects you to the land, right? Because your nationality comes from the word nativity. Nativity is birthright, your naval cord that belongs you, that ties you back to the land, basically.
Yeah, no, I love it. Excuse me. And now there is, because I think a lot of people get misconstrued in regards to the different types of Moors, because you have the Moors who wear the fez, and then you have, you know what I mean? So can you kind of break down for that, the difference? Because some people, if they hear about the black nobility, for example, and they don't know anything else, they're going to think that all Moors, you know what I'm saying, are terrible. But then if you have people like yourself who's very knowledgeable, or who's even born and raised in that culture, like, you know it, you know, because you was born and raised in it in regards to your path, so you can break it down and decipher to differentiate between the two of them. So can you kind of share like the differences between the ones who are, you know, righteous and the ones who are considered to be the dirty ones?
Okay. Well, the ones, you know, they have documentation in court. When you get an 1848 Supreme Court decision on June 6th, it says that the geographical landmass of America belongs to the title holder is the Moors who have emerged. The one that's spelt with two U's and an R and an S. Those are the ones that's connected to the 5 civilized tribes that was also connected to Atlantis and Lemuria and other, you know, fifth dimensional civilizations. Now, the Blackamoor was being controlled by black nobility. That is basically the two diametrical differences. That's when the Blackamoor, they came over here with religious papacy and gave, you know, the European the edification of maritime law and things of that nature. So that's really the difference between the two. The ones that's, you know, propagating the system, that's trying to keep you connected to the corporation. By way of,
my bad, go ahead, bro.
I was saying just by way of the religion, because the religion is what took us out of our sovereign capacity. That's what it was, the religion aspect of it.
Right, that's facts. And now, so when you talk about those who took us out of a path and took us, you know, off of our path and our track in our journey before that 1492 era and all that stuff, can you kind of break down how this territory that we reside on right now is actually a corporation, and like how that corporation is tied to, you know, the Vatican, or tied to London, or tied to, you know, the District of Columbia, you know, in that arm of what we're looking at with this three-headed monster type thing that we're looking at? Can you kind of break down how that all plays into the system and into, you know, this whole construct that they're trying to rule by?
Okay. Well, you got the Uniform Commercial Code, Title 18, Section 3002, page 86, third paragraph. It says that the United States is a corporation. Now, what makes it a corporation is that the religious systems that's connected to the corporation under a patrilineal system, what they did was, like I said, they created religious papacy with I think it was the doctrine of discovery, and then that's when they also implemented the Inquisition during that time period. So the doctrine of discovery was implemented in 1493. So the religion aspect of it coincides with the church and the state not being separate, when it's actually, you know, supposed to. It's against the law for the church and the state to be working in synergy like that, which is why they create their corporations. So then when you also look at the Vatican owns 170 billion acres of land internationally.